second Agyapong. As we speak now, or the Anas Aremeyaw Anaska $18 million. I was say off. Also, church on Krata Bidiaba. No problem. Anas and lawyer says, I'm the omo chain. See, and then they see what court to the lawyer church him. Well, uncle law school, lawyer, the possibility, you can say, for now, the 80 million is just. The possibility is about 90 million high, and the possibility is about 60 or 50 million very high. Kennedy appeal in Quadia and a lawyer in the future, no. So, person appeal, I will say of 18 at good table, so near the two can tame near Catasso and Sanya Kosha appeal, no. But for now, the Kennedy Baba Abe Perka Crasabia Yenteso, Yateso Crampo, Ebia, medium minim. Maybe a tiba be a 14 and also times Eddie or Inti, ready BC or say or not client here Anas in this idea whether to apply for plus times 5 or times DNDNO. Internet the councils Evans Selassie Adeka. He's on the line to speak to us on this very matter. Good evening, lawyer.
Good evening, Kevin.
Thank you very much. My first question to you is a very difficult one. You speak English, you speak from your name, Selassie, you speak ever like me, Melakope. Do you speak the Akan language?
Yes, please, I speak.
Good.
Tree, yeah.
It makes it easy for you and easy for me too. Good evening and welcome back to the show. Today, we got news that Anas Aremeyaw Anas, or a Ghanaian or investigative journalist, his work over the years he has gone through a lot of court appearances in Ghana and also in the United States. And the Abetin say Kennedy Agyapong or a former MP a few years ago announced the investigative piece by na efa football home GFA, and at the end of the day, Nyoma Bibrisi, one of his colleagues or any investigations near the day, Ahmed Swale, FMU, Ehre. After that, series of Nyama Esi, a lot of information about out from Kennedy Agyapong, and a lot of allegations that were made against Anas. Say it wouldn't crumple Ahmed Swale, at a point Kennedy was insinuating on radio and on TV, say Anas Nimhubi. A lot of things were said by Kennedy Agyapong. He even went further to have a whole documentary session at his premises. Otunidin, who watches The Watchman, Obo video, trying to create the impression that whatever Anas put out initially as the original documentary, he has the original tapes that were hidden and all that. Now, fast forward, Anas Aremeyaw Anas felt to say there was a lot of allegations made. He thought he needed to clean himself because of the reputation he carries and also his work. Or ended up in New Jersey in a court. To make it easy for us, we are one of the lawyers for Anas, and I want to state again, Udini Evans Selassie Adeka, renowned lawyer. Bepacho, can you run us through how it started and how we got to know today, say, a judgment in the New Jersey court? Abba.
Okay, Mr. P. The interesting thing is, I quite remember that you were sued in the U.S. sometime in 2021.
Yes.
And that actually caused my clients to begin inquiring about possibly if there's if there was anything out there, whether it will be actionable in the U.S. So you have some significance to today's events. So shortly after, when you were going through your motion to dismiss, we actually took a keen interest in that case and reviewed all the pleadings. And during that time also, my client informed me of a video that was circulating on social media. I just say, and someone just like what kind of about my client. So, like, as the intellectuals that we are, we started opening the books and try to see where we can lay a claim. And so, interesting enough, I mean, after reviewing the video, in our training, there's something that we are taught. So, in your case, it has to pass the test, and the case has to stand on all fours. which means that you do an analysis of whether there's jurisdiction in place, whether you have all the elements of each claim that you want to bring, you know. So we went through all of that, and my conclusion was yes, on the basis of video now, my client is send them, you know. You tweet back court New Jersey. Yes, and say, yeah, papa no video no so yeah, papa na nenum nsam kire say o kase fi ni fie New Jersey. Now when you say you chrome for so no the diaspora is very important. Obviously, what you do is testament to that fact. And you know, there was an audience that he spoke to. We're Ghana for. They all take a keen interest in the happenings in Ghana, especially the politics in Ghana. So we thought, there was solid grounds for us to be in the court in New Jersey. So I advised my clients accordingly. Now I wouldn't say a lawyer. So obviously he was an integral part of what was going on in the preparatory stage. At that time, I am a U.S. trained lawyer, but I currently only practice in Ghana. And there was a team of us. I'd like to say congratulations to my learned colleague Oded Crow. He was a part of yes, he was counsel of record in Ghana. So I pulled him into the research, and we drafted a complaint. And like Mekai a lawyer, so we did the work, and he actually filed it himself. So after the preliminary back and forth, initially the case was we sued in 2022.
Okay. Yes.
We filed suit sometime, I think. Yeah, sometime I think in the summer of 2022.
May 17th, 2022.
Yes. And by law, there was a period by which Papa no Anka was or responded with what is known as an answer. But so Papa no one filed a response, and my case no call into default. Now after a period of default, you can actually go for judgment. Now your case near file, we filed on 3 counts. But I couldn't say a chrome 4. The second one was Udini in terms of Onuna or behind the medal of Yenuya Ahmed Swale. Yeah. Now the third one so say Yenuya no a serial killer in terms of Woku Chinese for Bibrebi Ghana. And then the fourth one is or a criminal, the blanket word criminal. And then the fifth one by implication say Onuna behind Woody Sembiana, that means say Abiana no a trigger man and also no will be second and say perform the physical act that led to the foreseeable events, which is Obi a. So we also included a count that he is that he claims that my client a co-conspirator in multiple serial killings. So that was basically the gravamen of our complaint. And when it went on undefended after the response time now, we began to make preparations to move for judgment. But being that I was in Ghana and we are all based in Ghana, we reached within our network and we partnered with 2 brilliant lawyers who I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate. Agyapong Esquire, he was the father figure of the team of lawyers, and a brilliant trial lawyer by the name of Andrew Dehere. These are all brilliant Ghanaian lawyers on this case. And at that point, we recruited them as counsel of record. And the case went at that point. Kennedy's lawyers came in, obviously because Nebeji judgment for the full $30 million. And so he had counsel, and counsel came and also did his thing. Reopen default. They argued that they had a solid defense. And I think right around then, and I almost got judgments from Ghana, almost really see it. And I don't know, so say almost defense to a case I follow New Jersey.
But Ghana, so case no
exactly.
It's only almost case. Okay.
So as defense against, but the interesting thing is that defamation sits here. Say, come back there the work for court. It's a separate case.
Yeah.
It's not to mean for fact. what you mean to Ghana and from the defending way, you still have to prove the truth of it. And this time, no, in this jurisdiction, no, the law is the same essentially because Ghana no. Yemra no but you sound so emra free other countries. There are certain times that even though any of presidential value, I just said, judge into me so India but obi to me the two hufu na senior or the two more, especially in cases maybe you decided that type of a case. And you know, Emrano is the same as Ghana. Procedurally, you know, there are certain nuances, you know, sometimes in terms of certain dates, you have to do certain things by, and also in New Jersey, you know, Emra drafted complaints, you know, we were fully aware that we were required to prove what we were claiming by a higher standard than in Ghana.
Yeah.
Yes, in this case, no, and not even that. In this case, we were required to prove our case not by the normal civil standard, but by a clear and convincing evidence standard. Okay. And you know, they responded with that, and they were able to successfully reopen the default, which paved way for them to file an answer. And they filed an answer which essentially claimed that there was some sort of back and forth between him and Anas. And you know, we took it for what it's worth, and we forged on. And we finally got our trial date sometime earlier this year, and it was postponed. And then we finally went to trial last Monday. We started trial on Monday, and we put up our case. My client testified. He testified. He brought other witnesses, and after listening to both sides. Senior the crewman answer na ever try case no the difference between what happened with Ghana and see Johannes say no trial by jury into no any judge or judge back one I say judge me no one I say judge me and send a bit but normal people on the streets of New Jersey, tax-paying citizens, and a twin from. In this case, no, we started off with veneer. That's the technical word for when the prospective jurors are brought in. We are from a veneer. The veneer of 60 citizens, tax-paying citizens of the state of New Jersey, specifically Newark, New Jersey, and its surroundings, were brought in, and after what is known as Boadaya, which is the process by which they are questioned to see if they have any sort of bias or anything that will stand
for Ghana for your vetiomo.
Vetiomo just said, Obinim Assembly who be an ass only mobia. Assembly fan who an ass will do a white beer. Yamibi or some. So we went through all of that. That was day one. That took from area to the end of the day. And so on Tuesday, we came to court and we had our opening statements. They had their opening statements. And then we proceeded to put on our evidence. And at the close of the evidence, the jury was instructed, Judge, in this case, Judge, Ometro Emrano. Na Omodiama, jury, no Omeking Kayachromo first. No so amo paper Omodibeko inside. Aquaco decide the different deliberations. Me nim the son of a country, but me just say because almost the pencil, okay. Okay. And you know, there are some more about Thursday about 4:30. Yeah, the church from running now, and there are some more 4:30. Into now, I say we be an 4:30. No, I caught a phone right around that time, which is I believe consistent with the practice in I know it's consistent with the practice in Ghana. And no, I just so take a deep breath and reflect on what has transpired during the past 4 days. And about 20 minutes later, we got word that the jury. So as part of the defense, I think it's only fair that a charges counts now the buy and the civil claims now the buy. His defense was also although Oka said. Now, I say it was some sort of just based banter between him and Uniano, he came to court and asserted truth as his defense. And so,
time I court okay. Say, "Sa accounting na mode bono no say on anas back and forth, right? The on claim or make it. Also, na banter. I just say we can't wait and share or no. They're not all can you say obi to be more almost tomorrow."
But all you do court with that was not.
And yes, I know what kind. Ura court no G2.
Yeah, be or maintaining the position say no can ordinate or down standing by no kind.
Okay.
Basically, remember just or practice no crane di no on your body bia.
Okay.
So to support that, no, or the move you try your in to who watches a watchman. But the announced by as on only defense, and so the jury had the opportunity to evaluate that and factored that in the analysis. And obviously, it was not the weight that they wanted the jury to accord with. So jury never bugui. And about 20 minutes later, the jury came back with a verdict, and there were the multiplicity of very quick. And there was a multiplicity of questions that were posed to the jury. That's the way how they arrived at the decision. It's and also unanimous. People who were picked off the streets of not picked off the streets of New Jersey, but they're from based on address, voter registration data. And but within 20 minutes, they saw through everything and said no. So they came back and there was not even one juror that sided with Yapapana Samuakam.
All against
8-0 on every count and on every question that was posed to the jury, including damages now about no Biedun Komono. And also crown there was a unanimous decision. I just say it was a solid decision of the jury. 20 minutes said there was no doubt in our presentation to what you kind of lay people. These are not experts in the law.
Yeah, they are just
these are lay people
who just sat and used their common sense to come to a conclusion.
No. I will not say use their. I will not say use their common sense.
They listen to you and they listen to the other part. It makes sense though.
And then the law is the law. No judge in this world has any power to bend the law. That sort of conduct is what causes strife and war in places.
Yeah.
America had the judge actually before the judge kind jury instruction, but catch jurors and say, "Oh no, only to be a and that's how it went. But you know what's interesting about Nisi and or a lawyer contrary, even though people don't give him credit for that.
At least Bonidina Anas Asemna working.
But Anas, Anas. Also a very astute lawyer, and some people walk right on Jim but sometimes a team of legal team to we come to a compromise. Now, he has been adamant about clearing his name because I have a personal experience of understanding. It's one of the worst things that can happen to someone.
Yeah.
And he absolutely took the position that he wanted a trial. He's not interested in any settlement. He's not here for the money. He's here to clear his good name that he has built over time. And in his profession, at this time, Anka also started doing one. So he always maintained that he wanted a trial to the point where sometimes there was a disagreement in the legal team. Now, procedurally, America, the peace. Schedule there, and from this time to this time, staff that work we are dedicating it to your case. It's no small matter.
I know. I've been there. It's not easy.
Before they will go to trial, there's mandatory settlement conference. I bet say at this maybe by this time we'll be say grown. Or they'll commit to the rights and senses and decide, say, this shouldn't go on because, yes. And I acquire, no, unfortunately, me, and Anas disagreed with me, but I prepared a settlement memorandum that sought to settle this case for $18 million, just like the jury came back. As you know, in these days, we have all kind of tools that we can use to predict certain things.
Before you go ahead,
Mm-hmm.
This is where the contention is, and people saying 80 million, others saying a year 30 million. Now when you read,
well, we'll come to that. Let me clarify. Let me just clarify.
Yeah.
Okay, complaint there the coin. Yeah, claim for $30 million, $30 million.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. And what I'm saying is that at the before the mandatory settlement conference, or before the jury is empaneled, even though my client had firmly informed me he had no intention of settling this case because he believes that he ought to go to a jury of his peers to clear his name. But maybe let's just prepare our settlement memorandum, be thorough and be reasonable.
Yeah.
And even though he protested, I prepared a settlement memorandum that sought to settle this case for $18 million US. Okay. Now you do settlement conference, papa about court. Now the lawyers say what he was willing to settle this matter for, and they said $10,000. So honestly,
it's clarification is very, very important. Normally Ghana.
Okay.
Into Muko Drew Hono. Anas initially, you have a kind of simple street language, and the damages are not paid around $30 million. And the client and Anas Kasa say a woman saw for $30 million, and yes, he can't all pay. In fact, he wants his name to be cleared, and then the priority of going to court.
Yes.
But because of the experience, now unim CB and your material, no client here Anas Kasa and say it will be better and to be reasonable to at least settle on $80 million. And I'll say, no client and us, you did not really agree, but because he respects you as his counsel and as a lawyer, you people ended up around that money, around that figure, which is $80 million.
Oh, yeah, like I said, your lawyer at Aremeyaw, New York.
Oh, yeah.
And also come home. And Andrew D here.
Yeah, you are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Aremeyaw is there.
Yes.
D here is there. Crow is there. Yourself. Basically, as we are speaking to you, we are speaking to all of them because.
Yes. So, the whole team agreed on that, but he was the only reluctant one in settling the matter. But procedurally, we couldn't go to trial without actually going through to the settlement conference.
Yes.
In spite of his reservations, we still almost cut our demand down to about a little over half.
Okay.
But to our surprise, you have a panel buyer and also on over $10,000 to end the case.
No.
I want to arbitrate and who said no, some way he's in here. I'm sure so I can kind people. So he said basically go and take your gamble in the courtroom. So that's how we ended up going to trial. So to go back to how it ended. So at about 4:50 on Thursday. And the jury brought us in and they told us what unanimously what they had arrived at. But we decided to keep it under wraps because there was a component you multiply 18 million by 5 money do 90 million for a total of about
was the plan.
Yeah, that was the plan. Yeah, because
to do that. Okay.
Yes. And then you decided to say but we are with coming public with the finding of culpability on Thursday.
Yeah.
We ended up leaving that alone. A pursuit of ×5 because almost file emotions be I just say or see a two in terms of that and sana say one way or another I go back I could pursue that ×5 and I say depending on what happens, maybe I bet me German and cafe. But at this time, almost my court no say almost be sign into swore.
Okay. So at this point, Oma Makoti who say Ombeba 80 million or almost pentiswo. How many days do they have to file that?
Okay. So at this point, no, the next thing that's going to happen is that there's going to be a paper, a judgment. I just say court the seal better so.
Yeah.
That will take a few days, and then after that, I believe there's a 5-day rule that's within which you can file that motion. So a bay motion, depending on how that motion goes, no,
okay.
We would get a chance. We may get a chance to attempt to get our ×5 of that 18 million, or a big jam. So depending on how that motion goes, no.
So for now,
yes.
18, no, Obintiminka said that is the end of the case. It depends.
No, it's not because hypothetically, someone says to grab back 10, we still have the opportunity to go for ×5.
That is 50. Okay.
Yeah, and so call extra 50 plus. Yeah, hypothetically, someone says to back 10, we can go for another ×5.
You as a Ghanaian and also a lawyer and defending a fellow lawyer who is a journalist. This has been an experience. Do you want to share something with us when it comes to these kind of defamations and how comparing our judicial system back home and in the States? I'm not forcing you to condemn any, but I'm trying to find out from you. There are so many people in Ghana, they don't really understand how the American judiciary works because we are so used to the Ghana style of judiciary whereby things go a certain way. And I would say sometimes very, very slow. And sometimes you need to know something for even things to move the pace you want. In terms of how this case, how fluid it went, and comparing it to back home. I'm saying back home because I am more concerned back home, and especially when Kennedy presented a case where we knew fear, which is the same defamation case, and he tried to use that as a basis that what he did was right. From your experience as a professional, what have you I don't want to say what have you learned. What have you do you want to share something with us before you go?
Me share all the young people in Ghana, me show them crying say Nah, the country is a young country, so I tend not to criticize too strongly. But Oman and young people need to take their rightful position in the country because you know, my only thing is that the young people see that it's wrong or they know it's wrong, they need to stand up for their rights. The country is still young, so I would not be pointing any fingers at anybody. But we do my American. I'm a school from high school. I lawyer, and you know I know America very well. And for the past 7 years, I was licensed in Ghana in 2014, and I've been practicing actively for the last 7 years in Ghana. See, I know the problems that we face. I wouldn't. I think it's a systemic problem that allows people to hide in there to sort of engage in certain conduct that because democrats, you know, say the system, justice system, if it does not guarantee justice, and then one day, you know, there's going to be a problem. And you know, Omano, I like to direct my comments to all young politicians, those who have entered the fray, you know, about 40 and less, you know. Let's not, if we see things that are not right, let's not say because you benefited from it because your party we want to say party we you know, we're going to condone it. We all need to make sure that we are contributing to building a Ghana that we can all live in. And, you know, I would like to end on that. The system is not perfect. There are many things that we can do to also improve it. I will not talk about the substance of some of the things, but I also think the judiciary in Ghana is burdened with a lot of work. There are certain things that exist here in the U.S. that they don't have that perhaps need to be implemented. Some of these judges in this country, in the U.S., are ably assisted by law clerks who help them lessen their burden. But like I said, the young people in Ghana, we need to look at ourselves, because I've had judges tell me, say, I've suggested that, and I've had judges tell me, say, oh no, if a young person cry, but every time office on your year, we want to say, oh, leaky judgment at Jiska before the judgment is granted. So I will not be pointing fingers at, what happened in Ghana was a travesty of justice. I'll say that without mincing words.
Defamation, not Kennedy Winnie.
Absolutely, because I'm now a solid, which back to the maybe I can say, before a court can pronounce someone as a criminal, there ought to be a due process ought to be followed. And I have a publication that that's going to come out on this subject in a very near future. For the courts to have called my client a criminal without giving him a criminal trial was a travesty of justice. And the court in New Jersey rightfully classified that as obiter is dicta. It can never be a criminal conviction.
So that
because
was,
one of the things
that was how the court in New Jersey, the Superior Court in New Jersey, actually addressed that particular.
Yes, because the will be criminal. The will be criminal. You can bring proof to say the person has been adjudged to be a criminal. You understand? So the Ghana judgment by court jurors and when we brought a police clearance certificate again CID headquarters through the proper normal channels, we got it. It was sealed before we brought it to court, and that was giving more credence than what the judge said about Anas being a criminal, because that is the right thing.
How do you feel as a Ghanaian lawyer, a young Ghanaian lawyer standing before a U.S. judge, making a statement like this from a court in Ghana? I feel it's quite embarrassing.
Like I said, our country is growing. We are the U.S. is 200 and something years old. We are 60 something years old. So I like to always look at things from an optimistic standpoint. I hope that this is going to be a lesson, because Ghana is not Ghana. Just by dint of even some of your papa no cry amount for Ghana. Ufa Uber Krumwa. I remember say in the middle of the trial, Uber Bia driver and I catch him say, I move to Ghana tourism country. Mano is young, but it's a country that we all need to protect and we need to guard zealously. And that starts from the delivery of justice, because no one should have to feel that they need to go outside the four corners of Ghana to get justice. Justice emanates from the people, and we have enough people in Ghana. Because I saw say recently, judges they are educating people about the jury system. As part of our civic responsibility, it will also go a long way. Along with amending laws to allow more juror participation in different kinds of cases now.
Lawyer Evans Salasi Adeka, our 70 Esquire. So thank you very much. And I'll also say thank you to your colleagues that helped. In this case, Andrew De Gea, also Arthur Wemega Esquire, and Aday Crow. I'd like to say I really appreciate your time. You've educated us and also made things very clear to Ghanaians.
I'd like to point something else. So there were a few things that I think I glossed over. I think I told you said the threshold that we had to meet in the US was much higher than in Ghana. And in that regard, one of the allegations that was made, say you are a serial killer in terms of multiple Chinese. What was appalling, and I say, video say proof, say proof, say I'll be stand no say Chinese for video. It was an embarrassment because it some video be I mean say preko na you namoya hangi wo onu say umku aboa omo hangi mamudia no so ne no
and then on be sure say
I mean say me no kwemu ni emintu but it was definitely what he said he was going to produce. And I think that really disgusted the jury because and it's not something to accuse someone of likely.
Thank you very much for clarifying this. Ivan Selassie Adeka Esquire, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate every single minute you've shared with us here. At least, what I say, we are to rest for now. From your explanation on that's a case we enya end there. The response from the defendant, Kennedy Agyapong, the lawyers, so we're waiting for them to also file what they have to file. Now, I share where it goes from where we are now.
And just to clarify, any response, so Omono and Kanaya Baba for times 5 for no.
Yeah.
Omodia Sembia attitude, just say, yeah, no person tro. Now, for the sake of transparency, no, be in your time now, or yes, we be Yano na almost them there, judge and better so. The almost them when you're dance why, Begina 18 not yet decided that, you know, we have some decisions to make. What I said. But the thing is appeal, the difficulty is appeal no US no. Answer no be appeal, he needs to put the full $18 million down in a bond. Answer no be file appeal no. And you know, we you know, Bob Bryant today, I'm sure say you know, depending on how that goes, you know, we have the prerogative of deciding say we ever go for times 5 based on that 18 million if it stands. And I say almost so bad hypothetically and even 10 and I said 12 krana will still decide to say you know was or bar up with a nice offer so bit canana or union I'm not saying because I told you union or no no so a lawyer, you know, we'll entertain that and decide say okay ABI times 5 no and I say because change now times 5 no. Because there are certain other things that happen. There are certain things that also happen that will influence our decision one way or another.
Yeah. Lawyer, we will be on standby. And I know, sir,
okay.
Baby, I know we will come back for more clarification and education. We really appreciate you
very
much. Ivan Selassie Adeka Esquire, he has been our guest. He is one of the lawyers of Anas Aremeyaw Anas. Wachech and Senu Ejujum Emagana for Ehuno Kreno. I really want to say thank you very much to lawyer Ivan Selassie and the other lawyers or counsels that helped him, and I said Omoba together as a team to make sure Anas has a solid or had a solid legal team backing him. No, Mr. Arthur Wemega Esquire, he was part of the council Anas lawyers. No, Andrew here is also part of Anas legal team. No, and Odei Crow was part, and as you know, lawyer Ivan Selassie Adeka on your screen. He was also part of Anas legal team. No, get it was car, carry the betia. Now we have 80 million ska, and I carry the Oscar. We see factory cracker, cold store, fridge, be breed, what can see any. Carry the or some president to do betia. Ain't he? And then you see what court to the lawyer church him. Well, uncle law school, lawyer, you Emma Yajinayati, the echo. The possibility, you can say, for now, the 80 million is just. The possibility is about 90 million high, and the possibility is about 60 or 50 million very high. Kennedy appeal in Quadia and a lawyer in the future, no. So, person appeal, I will say of 18 table so near the two contain near Catasso and Sanya Kosha appeal, no. But for now, the Kennedy Baba Abe Abe Perka Krasa Ebia Yenteso, Yateso Crampodo, Ebia, medium minim. Maybe a tiba be a 14 and also times Eddie or inti heard the ABC or say or not client here Anas in this idea whether to apply for plus times 5 or times no internet the yen to me can wasem say definite. But the just on can wasem. The just in the second Agyapong as we speak now, or the Anas Aremeyaw Anas ka $18 million. I was say off also a church on crata bidiaba. No problem. Anas and lawyers say omo chain. Yate so crano. You to me so crazy $400 $80 million minus $400. When your calculation and a Kennedy Jadi Akado. Into say yate so crazy a judge no or beso teso jury no na say 80 million ebia or teso $330 cra. Into 80 million minus $330. Yan share the Kennedy betia and also some